The population of red deer has grown rapidly during the last decade, to the undivided joy of both Norwegian and foreign hunters. Torben has reached high country and watches the reindeer's migration. Time will tell whether Torben is in for more experiences than just the sight of reindeer. The roe deer is not as common in Norway as in neighboring Sweden, but they're here, and Torben finds a place where the population is quite dense. Norwegian hunting tradition is very different from most conventional European hunting. Up here they hunt for the experience and primarily for the meat. The weight of the carcasses means more than the size of the trophies, although trophy hunting gradually is getting popular too. When it comes to vast expanses and old traditions, not much compares to hunting reindeer at an altitude of 4,500 feet in some of the last unspoiled wilderness in Europe. The winter can be very hard in Norway. The snow is normally deep until April, when spring sets in. The game that survived the winter now has easier access to food. This is Torben's first visit to Norway, and it takes place in late April. He is hunting beavers, which are now active in their search of food after the long winter. Torben is assisted by a very experienced hunter, Jan Gustafsson, who for many years has guided foreign clients on all kinds of hunting in Norway. Hunting on the coastland is quite a physical challenge, and this terrain calls for fit sportsmen. The ocean is a harsh neighbor, and some places the mountains rise almost vertically. Here, low-hanging clouds can come drifting in very quickly, so maps and a compass can come in handy, as well as an intimate knowledge of the terrain. Torben is going to hunt red deer on the west coast. The season begins at September 10th, and this is probably the most demanding and beautiful place to hunt red deer in Europe. In Norway, it is quite common to hunt red deer by driving the animals. In these grandiose surroundings, the rifles are placed on the mountain ridges at spots where experience has shown that the animals are likely to pass by. Shortly after, the drivers have flushed the first deer. It is no easy task to drive the animals out of the dense scrub of the valleys. The first stag draws more with it. And one of them passes the spot where Torben is placed. The remaining animals continue upwards and are soon gone. This party of hunters has specialized in hunting deer where other people have quitted. Most other people would, from the beginning, have given up hunting the 3 stags that were spotted in this almost impassable terrain. Let's see again where the stag is. This is the Norwegian deer forest. A tougher terrain is hard to find, and the hunters are put to a severe test as the loose boulders can tumble down at any moment, and the heather and juniper makes it difficult to see where you step. The hunting technique is simple but demanding. You have to walk up above and far away from the deer. Accordingly, the hunters are climbing the mountain more than a mile from the herd. Something frightened the animals. It cannot be the hunters, as they are climbing towards the summit in an entirely different place. As soon as they reach the trees, the deers feel safe, and shortly after, they lie down. The Norwegian deer are similar to the Scottish when it comes to trophies and have slightly bigger bodies, but it is far more difficult and demanding to hunt a stag in Norway. The hunters continue their ascent. The leader of the hunt stayed at the foot of the mountain. A walkie-talkie is used to tell the hunters about the movements of the deer. Finally, the three hunters have reached the top, and the stalk towards the deer can commence.
Stopp der Torben, og så må du bare rett ned. Før du kommer rett ned der, da kommer du rett ned på dyra.
The guide explains to Torben that the animals are lying down between the trees. The other hunters are directed to their posts by walkie-talkie. During the last 15 years, the population of red deer in Norway has constantly increased, in some places very rapidly. The hunters are encouraged by the fact that the record of total number of heads taken has been beaten the last 3 years in a row. Last year, a grand total of no less than 21,600 red deers were shot. Finally, the last man is in place, and now the hunters only have to wait for the animals to rise. Torben has hit the animal in the shoulder, but he quickly chambers another round should it turn out to be necessary.
Han er fri igen.
Torben, nå er han fin for oss.
The other stag runs back to where it came from. At this distance, and with the animal standing between the trees, Torben does not feel capable of making a decent offhand shot, and as the stag is heading towards the other hunters, he decides to start climbing down to the stag he has just shot. Here it is, a nice 8-pointer, good by Norwegian standards.
Ja, men gratulerer. 2 stykk.
Ja, det er noget tough terræn, det her.
Ja, det er ikke sånn Danmark.
Nej.
No, this is definitely not the flatlands. Negotiating the terrain is not without perils when the stag has to be brought home. Had the hunter not let go the rope, he might easily have been dragged down himself. Butchering the animals is a very important part of the hunt. On these hunts, it is not the size of the trophies that counts, but the readings on the scale. The hunters are very keen on treating the venison properly, as it is a valuable resource, and have rented a portable cooling facility. The result of 4 days of hunting was 11 animals, of which 8 were stags. The smallest weighed 85 kilograms after butchering, a 6-pointer by the way. The rest were 8 and 10 pointers, but as said earlier on, this does not matter much to most Norwegian hunters.